Well, just a bit ago, Garrett Tenney showed us the fallout from the Zimmerman verdict, but we still don't know much about the 6 female jurors who handed down the not guilty verdict. Joining me now is jury consultant Mary Griffitts. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Good evening.
So a lot has been made of this jury. We've got specifically gender and race. 6 women, 5 of whom are white, 1 Hispanic. What impact, if any, does that have or might that have on the verdict?
You know, I think a lot of times people just focused, oh my gosh, there were 6 women deciding this case. And yes, that is a bit unusual, but I think just focusing on the gender is sort of oversimplifying this. You could take 6 women in here and ask them about their life experience on the very important issues that were involved in this case: race, gun control, self-defense, and they could all come up with a different opinion just based on their own personal experience.
Okay, so oversimplifying there. Now that jury, they deliberated 16 hours over 2 days. Is that the norm in a case like that?
You know, the 16 hours thing, that actually is the norm. Think about it. This case was almost a month long. They gave it 16 hours. In a case this big, this sort of complex, the 16 hours is part of an average. This was a good amount of deliberation time.
Okay, so when it came to the charges, jurors asked for clarification on one specifically, the manslaughter charge. What does that tell you? You know,
for any good jury consultant or trial lawyer could tell you this, is that jury verdict forms are so difficult to understand. They're made by lawyers for lawyers. The fact that there's a question wasn't unusual. It just sort of highlights the fact that manslaughter, if you looked at the actual charge in this Zimmerman case, it was complicated. And we expect jurors to understand what this means.
Sure, and this isn't language that they are used to encountering.
Absolutely. And they have to come back and say, what is this law? What does this mean to me? And then render a verdict. It's a very tough position to be in.
Okay, so 5 of the women we now know are mothers. One of them, I read, even said that she used what she knew of the incident as a teaching moment for her own children. What might the fact that these women were mothers, what bearing might that have had?
I mean, of course, to think that a fight ended up with someone dead and a mother has had to outlive her child, I mean, that is so impactful. But the more important point for these jurors is that 3 of them had experience with guns. 2 of them had brothers and husbands who own guns. 1 actually had her own concealed weapons permit. Prosecution made a big point of saying George Zimmerman came out probably because he had a gun. He may have felt more bravado with the gun. I think that that juror's life experience, when we hopefully get to hear about their deliberations, that's going to come to light about her opinion about if the prosecution was wrong, obviously that they thought they would.
Okay, so more on that point, if and when we might hear from them. Haven't heard from them yet.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? You
know, it's every juror's right to discuss with the media what they think or not to. The defense has asked for a 6-month cooling off period. Very wise. The judge has allowed this. So this is now up to a juror. Do I want to reach out to the media or do I not? From my jury research, what I found is usually alternates sometimes will come out, because imagine if you're an alternate. You've sat there for a month and then you're told right before they get to deliberate, you're done. So those jurors, they haven't had an opportunity to deliberate. They usually are the ones who will come forth and tell the story.
Okay, well, that will certainly be interesting if and when it happens.
Yes.
All right, Mary, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.